Hello, Libra, do you feel that? A shift in the air, a quiet miracle stirring somewhere in your life? Because whether you expected it or not, something extraordinary is already on its way. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal what the universe has been orchestrating behind the scenes just for you. This is your deeply intuitive, soul-nourishing horoscope reading for June 7th through 9th, here on Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and trust me, you didn't land here by accident. Out of all the videos floating across your screen, you chose this one. Or perhaps, it chose you. Because right now, Libra, there's something waking up inside you, something that's been waiting patiently behind your polished smile, your thoughtful silence, and your endless efforts to keep the peace. You are the sign of the scales: balance, fairness, harmony. But even the most gracious souls need space to breathe, to ask, what about me? And that's exactly what this moment is about. Over the next 72 hours, you may be asked to make a decision. One that doesn't just affect your schedule or your surroundings but your soul. It may feel small on the surface, but deep within, it marks the moment where you stop delaying your own happiness. And finally, give yourself permission to receive. I want to invite you to pause for a moment. And if there's something in your heart, a quiet prayer for healing, for love, for a more peaceful path, go ahead and write it down in the comments below. Not just for me, but for you. When we put our desires into words, we open a door for the divine to walk through. Now, let me take just a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every thoughtful comment, and every new subscription helps grow this sacred space we're building together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your energy matters. And your support is what allows these transformational messages to find the people who need them the most. So thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. And I say this with full sincerity, Libra, you're going to want to stay with me through the very last moment of this reading. What the universe is about to reveal to you is not only beautiful. It's aligned. It's destined. It's real. Now, let me ask you something. Out of all the signs, why do you think you were guided here today? What did your soul whisper that pulled you to this very place, in this very moment? Perhaps because you're the one meant to hear what comes next. And remember, those who are faithful in small things will be entrusted with greater ones. Stay open. Stay true. And I promise what's falling from the sky for you, Libra, is far more miraculous than you could ever imagine. Let's begin. Sometimes clarity doesn't arrive like lightning. It comes in softer ways, through gentle discomfort, quiet hesitation, or a moment where you realize you're tired of carrying two truths at once. For Libra, the scales are always in motion, seeking harmony, yet true balance cannot exist without honesty. And right now, cosmic energy is inviting you to be radically honest with yourself, not to create chaos, but to make room for peace. With the moon passing through Sagittarius and forming a harmonious trine to the sun in Gemini, a window opens for open-hearted dialogue, both with others and with your own inner world. These are two signs ruled by curiosity and expression, and their current alignment is like a celestial invitation to speak truths that have been waiting patiently in the background. If there are parts of your life that feel stuck in love, work, or even in how you speak to yourself, this is not a punishment. It's a signal. The universe isn't asking you to choose perfectly. It's asking you to choose truthfully. In numerology, the number 2 is activated at this time, the number of balance, connection, and mirroring. It asks, what relationship in your life needs truth right now? And more importantly, what part of your own inner dialogue is asking to be heard without judgment? Often, we believe peace comes from silence, from avoidance. But more often, it's the silence that eats away at peace. What brings true harmony is the courage to say, this is what I need. This is what I feel. This is who I am becoming. The Two of Swords appears here as your guide. It shows a figure blindfolded, holding two swords crossed in front of their chest, a classic image of internal conflict. But look closer, behind the figure, the sea is calm. The sky is clear. The storm exists only in the mind. And that's the message. You're not in danger. You're just deciding. And decisions, when delayed too long, start to drain your spirit. Sometimes, the real fear isn't about what will happen after you choose. It's about the discomfort of admitting that a choice has already been forming inside you quietly, surely, inevitably. In everyday life, this could be as simple as admitting you're tired of pretending something works when it doesn't. Or acknowledging a hope that you've been too afraid to say out loud. It doesn't require a dramatic confrontation, just an honest moment of eye contact with your own truth. And here's the healing truth: God, or whatever divine wisdom you believe in, never demands perfection. Only willingness. The gentle voice of higher guidance often says, I will meet you where you are. But you must take the first step out of hiding. That step doesn't have to be big. It might be writing in your journal, making a call, or sitting with your truth long enough to stop fearing it. It's not about being certain, it's about being sincere. So ask yourself now, if you had to choose between feeling safe in an old version of yourself or feeling alive in a new truth, what would you choose? If peace required change, would you trust yourself enough to lean in? Sometimes we think that waiting will bring clarity, but clarity often arrives only after we've decided to move. The blessing you're waiting for is not behind the perfect answer. It's behind the honest one. And that, dear Libra, is where your miracle begins to unfold, not in the absence of tension, but in the presence of truth. Keep breathing. Keep asking the questions that make you tremble. And let those questions carry you home. You know, something subtle yet profound begins to shift the moment you realize you don't need to earn the right to be loved, or to belong, or to be seen. For so many Libras, the quest for harmony can slowly turn into the quiet burden of performance. You give, you adjust, you compromise, not because you're weak, but because you care deeply. And yet beneath that graceful effort often lies a question you may not even realize you've been asking: am I enough yet? This part of the journey isn't about proving anything. It's about remembering what was always true, that you are worthy, not someday, but now. Right now, the energy of the Lover's card rises in your field, not just as a symbol of romantic possibility, but as a reminder of sacred choice. Yes, love may be on the horizon. A big opportunity may be unfolding. A fork in the road might be appearing where you must choose what aligns with your joy rather than what pleases everyone else. But the real question is, will you choose yourself, or will you keep negotiating your own needs to keep the peace? From an energetic standpoint, the law of attraction mirrors what we believe. Not what we want, but what we truly believe we deserve. And many of us were quietly taught that love had to be earned. That success required self-denial. That if we just tried a little harder, lost a little more weight, said the right thing at the right time, then someone would finally choose us. But the universe doesn't work that way. It responds to truth, not strategy. And your truth is that you were already chosen the moment you existed. The miracle is not that you might be worthy one day. It's that you've never not been. If no one told you that before, let me say it now. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too much or not enough. You are simply becoming. And maybe all that's left now is to let go of the beliefs that told you otherwise. The divine wisdom many of us carry in our hearts, that deep inner whisper we often ignore, says gently, "Come as you are." It does not demand flawlessness, only openness. You don't need to fix yourself to be loved. You just need to stop hiding. The more we make peace with our imperfections, the more room we create for real joy, for real connection, and for the kind of peace that doesn't disappear when someone else disapproves. If you're ready for that shift, here's something small but powerful you can do. Write a short letter to the version of yourself from 6 months ago. Thank them sincerely for not giving up, even when it was hard. Thank them for showing up, for choosing to believe, even just a little, that better days were possible. You wouldn't be here today, hearing these words, if that version of you hadn't kept walking. And if something within you is already stirring, if a part of you feels ready to receive rather than perform, then speak it aloud in the comments. Write one word: love, opportunity, peace, courage. Whatever you're welcoming in. Let that word be your declaration. Your alignment. Your beginning. Because the truth is, joy does not require credentials. Happiness doesn't wait for perfection. The blessings meant for you don't need permission, only acceptance. And the moment you stop questioning whether you deserve them is the moment they start finding you. There's a quiet kind of power that begins to stir when you stop trying to keep everything perfectly balanced on the outside, and instead turn your attention inward to the delicate place where your true needs live. Libra, you've already begun that shift. In the previous moment, you were asked to embrace the idea that you don't need to prove yourself to receive what's meant for you. Now, the question gently evolves. Once you've acknowledged your worth, how will you protect it? How will you live in a way that reflects that deep knowing? For many people, and especially for Libras, who are often the peacemakers and the mediators, the desire to be fair can lead to a quiet form of self-abandonment. You try to keep others comfortable, to maintain the equilibrium, to make everything appear harmonious. But real harmony isn't about smoothing the surface. It's about bringing the truth to the table and still choosing compassion. This part of your journey is about remembering that protecting your peace sometimes requires choosing discomfort in the short term, saying no, walking away, setting boundaries, or simply not over-explaining yourself. From an astrological perspective, the current transits are working with you, not against you. There's a beautiful activation between Venus, your ruling planet, the one that governs love, value, and aesthetics, and Saturn, the planet of discipline and responsibility. This energetic combination brings an invitation. It asks, will you build a life that honors your inner beauty, not just your outer charm? It's one thing to believe in your worth, it's another to build routines, habits, and choices that reinforce it daily. When you value something, you take care of it. And that includes yourself. Sometimes people worry that prioritizing their well-being is selfish. But that's an illusion. Think of it this way: if you are constantly pouring into others while neglecting your own reservoir, eventually the offering dries up. What's generous in the beginning becomes unsustainable over time. And the truth is, you were never meant to give endlessly without receiving. Even the most generous hearts are designed to rest, to be nourished, to be cherished in return. In this quiet moment, I invite you to consider the idea of stewardship not over money or success, but over your own spirit. You've been entrusted with a unique voice, a creative light, and a heart that can see both sides of every situation. That's no accident. But with great perception comes the need to be even more intentional about what you allow into your space. Being kind doesn't mean being unguarded. Being open doesn't mean being exposed. You might remember a simple truth that many wise teachers have echoed in different ways: what you nurture will grow. That includes your anxiety, if you feed it daily. But it also includes your joy, your confidence, your relationships, your dreams. So ask yourself lovingly, without judgment, what have you been feeding lately? And is it still aligned with who you are becoming? The beauty of this moment is that you don't need to overhaul your entire life to begin shifting. You only need one choice. One change. One gentle yet firm decision that says, "This matters to me." That's how strength is built. Not all at once, but in layers. And yes, you might stumble. But even in that, you grow. So if you've been holding your breath, trying not to rock the boat, this is your permission to breathe again. To choose clarity over confusion. To let go of roles that no longer fit. To water the parts of your life that nourish you. And to remember, you are not here to hold it all together for everyone else. You are here to live fully, freely, and faithfully with grace. And grace, dear Libra, is always enough. And sometimes, the most meaningful messages don't arrive with lightning or noise, they come softly, like the rhythm of your breath or the way the light hits the same corner of your room at a certain hour. Lately, you may have noticed subtle shifts around you: a repeated dream, an unexpected message, or simply a quiet feeling of calm settling over you for no apparent reason. These aren't coincidences. They're whispers. The kind the universe sends when it knows your heart is finally still enough to hear them. For Libra, this season activates your 12th house, a deeply internal space often misunderstood. This part of your chart rules the subconscious, the dreams you carry, the emotions you keep tucked away in quiet corners. It's not the loudest placement, but it's one of the most sacred. When planets begin to stir this realm, you're being called inward to listen more than you speak, to reflect more than you act, and to trust the wisdom that doesn't always come with clear logic. You may not fully understand why something is calling to you now, but if you can feel it in your chest, that gentle pull, that soft ache of recognition, it's worth paying attention to. The Ace of Cups arrives as confirmation. This card is a symbol of renewal, of emotional opening, of spiritual tenderness. Think of it like a cup being offered to you, not to be earned, not to be questioned, simply received. It may come through love, or through creativity, or through a sense of inner fulfillment you haven't felt in some time. But it requires you to be open. To let go of the armor you've worn in the name of being polite, or perfect, or in control. The cup can't be filled if your hands are still clinging to old fears. And speaking of softness, your lucky colors now are rose quartz and soft aqua, two tones that don't shout, but soothe. Rose quartz reminds you that unconditional love starts within, that self-compassion is not weakness, but foundation. And aqua, a gentle hue of clarity and calm, helps harmonize the dialogue between your heart and your thoughts. Together, they create an atmosphere where both vulnerability and discernment can exist. If you've been experiencing unusually vivid dreams or dreams that repeat with similar imagery, this is not just a matter of your imagination. It may be your intuitive self finding the only doorway it can to deliver what you've been too distracted to hear during the day. Trust your dreams. Write them down. Even if they make little sense at first, you may notice patterns or messages when you revisit them later. And if an old friend or lover reappears, whether in life or memory, reflect on what still lingers unspoken. Their presence may not be about reigniting a bond, but about closing a loop. And then there's that feeling, the strange calm that finds you when nothing in your outer world has changed. That's the deepest kind of sign. When your mind is quiet but your soul feels like it's finally breathing again, that's not random. That's guidance. It's preparation. And the question now isn't whether something is coming, it's whether you're ready to open the door when it arrives. There's a simple truth we often forget in moments like this. When we ask for change, the universe doesn't always send a loud answer. It sends an invitation. And that invitation often asks, do you trust yourself enough to begin again? So ask gently, but honestly, do you believe that something new can begin for you even if you don't have all the answers? Are you willing to move forward without full certainty, but with quiet faith? Because peace isn't always the absence of challenge. Sometimes, it's the stillness that comes when you finally align with your path, and know deep down that you're exactly where you need to be. Without needing to explain it, you may have already started feeling a quiet craving for simplicity. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally learning to release the weight of unnecessary expectations. After all the emotional stirrings, the dreams, the signs, the recognition of your worth, this next part of the journey invites you into stillness, not stagnation. A different kind of movement is unfolding now. One that doesn't involve rushing or striving. One that honors rest as a sacred, necessary act of balance. For Libra, a sign so often focused on making things beautiful, functional, and fair, this can feel unfamiliar at first. You've grown accustomed to staying put together, to being the calm in the storm, to organizing your world, even your emotions, into something aesthetically pleasing. But right now, the call is to step away from the mirror and look inward, not for flaws to fix, but for space to breathe. The Four of Swords, a card of quiet retreat, gently reminds you that rest is not a pause in your growth, it is the growth. It is the act of tending to the soil after you've planted new intentions, and before anything blooms. Let's ground this energy with some loving truth. You are not obligated to be everything to everyone, not today, not tomorrow. Prioritizing your sleep isn't lazy. It's responsible. Turning off your phone isn't avoidance. It's protection. The world may push for speed and constant output, but your spirit, especially now, is asking for softness, for space, for the chance to reset. And sometimes, the greatest act of courage is not pushing forward, but consciously stepping back. In terms of health, this is the time to notice the ways your body has been speaking to you. That lingering fatigue? That mental fog? That aching back? They're not random. They're invitations. Not punishments. It may sound simple, but truly allowing yourself 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep, not scrolling, not analyzing, just resting, is one of the most powerful things you can do to recalibrate your nervous system and your emotional field. When you rest well, clarity returns. And with clarity comes gentler choices. Financially, this is a beautiful moment to reflect without shame. If you've been spending emotionally filling the quiet with quick comforts or impulse buys, you're not broken. You're human. But pause here. For just 3 days, write down every expense. Not to judge, but to reconnect. Let awareness be the first gift you give to your future self. You don't need to deprive yourself. You just need to realign with what actually nourishes you. In love, too, things are simplifying. If someone makes you feel like you must earn your place, perform more, shrink more, give more than you have, that's not partnership. That's a contract of self-sacrifice. And you're not here to trade your peace for someone else's comfort. The right person won't need you to dim or break. They'll meet you where you are and grow with you. That kind of connection begins when you begin to believe you're allowed to ask for that kind of love and wait for it. And in work, if the pace you're operating at is pulling you off center, give yourself permission to pull back for 72 hours. The world won't collapse if you pause. But your spirit might, if you don't. If a decision feels foggy, don't rush clarity. Let it find you while you walk, or breathe, or sip your coffee without a screen in front of you. You are not behind. You are realigning. So tomorrow morning, try something simple. Sit quietly for 3 minutes. Breathe in slowly and speak inwardly, "I deserve to live gently." Repeat it until your body believes it, until your heart begins to soften at the truth of it. This isn't indulgence. It's devotion. Because when you treat your well-being like something sacred, everything else starts to fall into its rightful place. And isn't that what balance truly is? Not having it all, but having enough of what matters. And now, dear Libra, after all that has been stirred, felt, and awakened, I invite you to take one final breath with me. Let it be slow and full, not because everything is perfect now, but because you've remembered something essential. That peace was never about controlling the chaos. It was about learning to return to yourself, no matter what. Throughout this journey, you've walked through reflection, through decision, through release, through recognition, and finally, into rest. And here you are, still standing. More than that, you're standing in truth. And truth, no matter how quiet or tender, always leads to freedom. You've seen how the energies of the week, the cosmic alignments, the symbols in the cards, the invitations whispered through dreams or silence have all pointed to one thing: that balance is not a destination. It's a daily devotion. And you, Libra, were born to practice that devotion with beauty, grace, and resilience. But here's what I want you to carry as you go: this blessing is not something the universe hands you once and disappears. It's something that begins with your awareness and is sustained by your willingness. You don't have to prove yourself to hold on to it. You don't need to chase it or grip it too tightly. You only need to notice it, tend to it, and make space for it in your everyday life. Because a miracle, once received, becomes a seed. And what grows from that seed depends on how gently and intentionally you care for it. So ask yourself, what will I do with the clarity I found today? What tiny step can I take to move toward harmony, rather than away from it? What choice can I make this week that reflects the person I've become, not the one I was trying to survive as? And here's a thought to keep close. Maybe you're not just the one receiving the blessing. Maybe you are the blessing. Maybe someone close to you, a friend, a partner, a child, will feel more peace because of the peace you now choose for yourself. That's the quiet ripple effect of alignment. It starts within, but it never stays there. The light you hold becomes the light you share. So I'll ask you now, if you feel called, what are you ready to receive? And how do you plan to share it? You can leave just one word in the comments if you'd like. Maybe it's love, or opportunity, or clarity, or freedom, or simply peace. Whatever rises from your heart, trust it. Let it be your anchor and your beginning. And if today's message has touched you, if something stirred within you, or brought you a gentle pause, or even a tear of truth, then please consider liking this video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who may need the same reminder. Every single interaction here helps this sacred space grow, helps this energy find the souls it was meant for. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. And your support means more than you know. From all of us here at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, thank you truly for spending your time, your attention, and your energy here with me. I honor your journey. I honor your growth. And I honor the balance you are learning to live with, not as a burden, but as a beautiful act of love. So say it with me now, if it feels right in your spirit. I receive the love, the opportunity, and the harmony I deserve, and I will share it with gratitude. You are the keeper of the sacred scales, Libra. May your steps be soft, your heart be steady, and may you always remember that the light you seek is already inside you, waiting for your permission to shine. Until next time, stay grounded, stay luminous, and never forget the universe walks with you. Always.